In retrospect, the things you've gone through with people around you where you may have felt unsupported, unvalidated, you may have been overly criticized. That's what made you pick up the chisel. So it can't even be, you know, it can't even be a situation where you're still blaming or you're still feeling like you're somebody's victim. Yes, what happened to you happened to you. What they did to you, they did it. Yeah, they did do that. The hurt and everything is all valid. But you can have that experience and still not think of yourself as a victim. What's good, ladies? How is everybody doing? Divine Feminines, thank you so much for tapping into Sacred Empowerments of the Divine Feminines. You know who it is. You know what I mean? If this is your first time tapping in, please, get comfortable, get your popcorn, a little juice or whatever and everything, you know what I'm saying? And listen to this message to all of my returning subscribers, my soul tribe, divine feminists who have been rocking with me from day one, from day two, day three, day 30, whatever. However long. If you're a subscriber, then you part of the tribe. And I love you very much. And I thank you so much for your support. Um, let's get into this conversation, all right? So it's like when I was listening to that, I was thinking to myself, you really don't sometimes recognize that people don't see you the way you see you. And this can be for the good or the bad. Like you could know that you are absolutely phenomenal at something. You have total self-confidence, you got great self-esteem. So, as far as you concerned, you the shit. And some people could not see that. Okay, right? But on the flip side of the same coin, you could actually be feeling like maybe a little bit insecure, have a lack of self-confidence, a slight lack self-esteem. Like you're still healing and processing through things, but you are aware that maybe a little more self-care and self-love might be in order here, like maybe a little more self-acceptance, you know what I'm saying? And then other people, now that's what you're processing through as far as you're concerned, but then other people see the version of you that you don't see. Other people see your creative abilities. Other people see your ability to, your wisdom or your nurturing or your compassion, your empathy. Other people see your light while you are wrestling around over here, still trying to make some sense of your shadows. That is a weird phenomenon to me. That is weird. That is a bit weird to me that other people can see that you possess a light. It's almost like just because you may be in a shadowy period, that doesn't mean that your light is not still glowing. You know, which to say that is self-explanatory, really. You know what I'm saying? Because the light is not void of the darkness, and the darkness not is not void of the light, and we know that, right? But when you are in your shadows, it is quite dark. And yes, you do possess some glimmer or a dimmed version of the light that you hold, but you know it's there. But you're in the shadows, knee deep. So it's there, but it's sometimes even harder to perceive than at other times. As you begin to heal in the shadows, the light is like the dimmer switch. It just starts to slowly get brighter and brighter and brighter. But you're in the shadows, making room to bring in more light. So the predominant energy is still in the shadows. But other people can see, if other people can see the dimness of your light that you are able to let come through. And if they are reacting with envy, jealousy, competition, if they are coming into your life just to try to siphon off the little fragment of light that you are able to let shine through you, because you're still in your shadow aspect. And if they are so hungry after that small dim light that you are able to project, how much more Once you get in there and do the work and bring understanding to your shadows, bring healing, self nurture, gain the self esteem that you need, gain the self validation that you need. After you work on yourself, in more of that darkness is being like rolled back, so more light you are able to perceive even of yourself, which allows you to show forth more light. How much more? It's almost like while we sometimes have periods where you know, um, we don't quite always 100% believe in ourselves. Not all of you, but I'm pretty sure you can attest. There's been things that you've been a little bit not necessarily fearful of, but if it's something brand new, it's something unknown to you, it's a big venture, it's a big leap of faith. Yeah, you have those moments where it's like, okay, all right, it's a little anxiety, it's a little nervous jumping into the unknown. You understand what I'm saying? So even if this is not a predominant energy for you to have, low self-esteem or lack of confidence, I'm sure you can attest to that there's been moments. You know what I'm saying? There's been times, yes, of course, because like I'm human, right? So I was sitting here and I was thinking, like, the reason why I've experienced some of the things I have experienced coming from other people is because when even before I was able to allow more light in to myself, that little glimmer, that little dimmed light that I was able to shine through the darkness, if I that little small little round peephole of light that I was able to bring forth and share with other people, that was enough for them to either become jealous, competitive, unsupportive, uh envious. You understand what I'm saying? Trying to throw stumbling that was enough for them to go into their shadow. Okay, that was enough for them to like just rather siphon off my light than to try to actually forge a real friendship, relationship, whatever kind of ship it is. You understand what I'm saying? Just that little fragment of light turned people into vampires and shit. So imagine that at that time, I'm still processing myself in my shadow aspect. So I'm dealing with a lot of moments of lack of self confidence, a lot of need for validation, a lot of codependency, a lot of over nurturing and over giving of myself. You understand what I'm saying? And now that I'm no longer I'm no longer wrestling with those aspects in my shadow. Me and my shadow are closely, you know, intimate with each other. I understand her, she understands me. I've been able to do what I needed to do so she could do what she needed to do, and we can both raise our vibrations and get the hell out of like get the hell out of this, you know what I mean? Like at some point we gotta go. You know what I'm saying? So that's my road girl now. You know what I mean? And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, yo, uh, I get it. You know, I don't get why a person would choose to just try to vampirically siphon off a person's energy, or why do people do certain uh, malevolent things, whether it be in the spiritual aspect or just as a person. You know, I don't get why you choose that. I don't know. I guess it could be a many reasons, is what I'm saying. It could be a many reasons why a person chooses to just operate, you know, like a vagabond. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. But what I'm saying is, while we sometimes wrestling, we are holding a light that is even greater than the one that we can perceive of ourselves. And so as you start to, grow a deeper perception of that by moving away those shadows and making room inside of the shadows for the light aspect of you to come in, and then they can start doing a happy little dance with each other and stuff. You know what I mean? The light aspect of you and the shadow aspect of you can just merge. They can merge fluidly. You know what I mean? So With all of that being said, there's a light that someone that is going to some divine feminine, that may listen to this sacred empowerment, that you may be in a season where you are working on those aspects of yourself. You are working on the aspect of dealing with the lack of confidence and dealing with the too many moments of low self-esteem, or there's too many moments of when I don't believe I can do something, or there's too many moments of me procrastinating, because procrastination leads back to insecurity and a lack of confidence, right? There's too many moments of me second guessing and over analyzing and moving into perfectionism, that if it's not a certain way, then I should just not do it. No, you should calm down. That's what you should do. You should calm down, little mama, because babe, it's a process. It's gonna be a process either way. I don't care how good you is at some shit. Nobody is so good that they are not confined to process. Because even when you are a free form creative thinker and you could just get up and just, you know what I'm saying, you still develop a process in doing that. You develop a process as to how you get into that vibration. You develop a process. So we're all kind of chained to the concept of processing. You understand what I'm saying? So you should calm down. You don't overhaul the whole situation because it ain't exactly the way you could, like, if I could do it this way, this is how I would do it, else I don't want to do it. Calm down. That perfectionism is just rooted in fear that somebody else is going to see something in whatever you create and they're going to criticize it. Fuck them. Okay? That's what I say. Like, hey, roll that shit on out there, do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Man, look, all of these things that we deal with, as we start rolling that shadow aspect and merging in more light, and then they become, very fluid. You know, from your shadow side, you start to actually see what other people see in you, what they see. And then you see it, and then it's like an aha moment. This is what they've been tripping over. But they did just a little small fragment of light, But what's really more impactful is now that I've merged that shadow aspect and that light aspect. You know, it allows me to, not get caught slipping back into lack of self-confidence, lack of validation, not feeling supported, and why don't nobody, you know what I mean? You don't want to slip back into those thought patterns and thought forms, because if and you just don't. And they're too heavy, they're too dense, and they can't go with you. And I think I've said this before, but possessing the light is not just about possessing illumination, light in terms of illumination, but it's also possessing a certain lightness and weight. Your energy can't be weighty with a bunch of negative, non-positive, non-self-reliant, non-divinely orchestrated thought forms. You have to, if your thought forms are not honoring you at your most lightest aspect, then you have to eliminate those thought forms, because they operate like an anchor. Okay? They're heavier. Negativity is heavier. So you have to eliminate them and pull up the anchor, so you can get on across the water and get on to the other goddamn side of what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? But it just was kind of on my mind, like, you really didn't see what they saw. And you was running around like, why people just don't treat me right? People just say like they don't love me. People act like they don't fuck with me. Like, I mean, I had good friendships and stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, but it was always just an undercurrent. Always, sometimes an undercurrent of like, mm, like sometimes it's like you rock with me, but sometimes it's like you kind of subtly covertly sending me a message that you don't. And because I'm codependent, I'm gonna let the shit slide. You know what I'm saying? But I did see it. I did feel it. I just was codependent, so I let it slide. You understand? But now bitches have actually not at all codependent, right? And and can see and will make a decision for my life as to whether you deserve to be in it or not. You understand what I'm saying? Because you're not gonna put me down while siphoning off of the light that you see in me, while I walk around with my head in the clouds as if I don't know that you see what you see, because I don't see it in me too. But no, that's not what we on no more. I know me. I got this over here. We straight. You understand what I'm saying? So no, you can't come in my life and covertly or overtly shit all over me, but you're just trying to create a dynamic that keeps me from being able to understand what you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is have my head all fucked up so I can't see that you're gonna on the back side of the situation just pull from the light, pull from the good energy that I do have. If you want good energy, then get it the right way. Good energy is reciprocal. Good energy is fairness. Good energy is, you know what I mean? You rock with somebody, you rock with them. If you don't, stop fucking like lying in they goddamn face and shit and telling them you rock with them when you really don't rock with them. But you don't do that. This is why a lot of light workers, people who call themselves that, high vibrational people, this is really a human experience, but particularly people who are empathetic or are empaths. They talk about getting used a lot for the good shit that they got about them. But the second they slip off into their shadow, then that person all of a sudden want to hold them to a higher standard than they've been holding themselves. And so a lot of empaths feel used for their energy. That's why they typically also are very introverted or introvert extrovert, where they'll go out and shit, but they going home. I ain't gonna be out here all day. You know what I'm saying? Because they empaths and they pick up too much, they feel too much. And so if you have people in your close circle of friends that are also pulling on you, feeding off of, the energy, the good energy that you bring, you know, you have to make sure that they're going to reciprocate that. They can't feed off your good energy, and then when it's time for you to get some good energy from them, they want to downplay you like, oh, that wasn't no big deal that you actually graduated college. That ain't no, like they want to act like they celebrate you, but they don't really. They really like it's not that it's you know what I'm saying. Y'all know what I'm saying. When it's funny acting and shit, and you know what you're being. You know what I'm saying. So I don't deal with people like that no more at all. I'm not gonna deal with you because what you're not gonna do is come into my peaceful, well lit life. Okay, my life is well lit over here. We can see. Okay, and you're not gonna come in here and throw and have your shadows roaming around, blocking out all the good light around here. Damn, for me to see, I got to shine more light because you all shadowy, all in my shit. No, mm-mm. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I ain't gonna be able to do that. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of work. Getting a little more sunshine up and through here. This was a lot of work. Shit. I ain't gonna be able to do it. But just know that people see your light, even if it's just a small glimmer. And if you are still healing a lot of deep wounds, and yet you can tell that people are trying to pull on the little light that you have been able to kind of like chisel into the cave and get more light in. You know what I mean? Like I see people like I'm seeing like chiseling into like a stone cave, like a wall, and you're trying to get to the other side, and you know when you got there because you start getting more light to come in. You understand what I'm saying? You've worked very hard to get where you are, but in retrospect, The things you've gone through with people around you where you may have felt unsupported, unvalidated, you may have been overly criticized. That's what made you pick up the chisel. So it can't even be, you know, it can't even be a situation where you're still blaming or you're still feeling like you're somebody's victim. Yes, what happened to you happened to you. What they did to you, they did it. Yeah, they did do that. The hurt and everything is all valid. But you can have that experience and still not think of yourself as a victim. You understand what I'm saying? A victim, that's something totally different. Pick up the chisel, pick up the little hammer thing, and nail away that stone, that stony place within you so that you can bring more light in. But even with the little light that you have had, that is also the reason why they showed up to you the way they showed up to you. So at the end of the day, this is still about self-healing, self-acceptance, self-awareness, self-growth within, because the world is going to respond to you, not just because of who you are, but because of what you possess within. That what you possess within. And the more we go into our shadows and we listen to her, and she guides us and reminds us and restores us, restores our conscious awareness of her, of who we are in the divine feminine aspect. As mothers, as the mother's daughters, who are we? What are we? What position do we hold, both terrestrially and celestially? What is this? Right? The more we forge for ourselves a cosmic remembrance of our cosmic power and authority and mission and various dimensions, but we're talking about this one, the more light we can let come in, right? And the more easier it becomes to walk away from people and situations that do not honor your cosmic power, authority, your terrestrial authority as the divine woman, the divine female. You know, it makes it easier because I've been in this cave hammering at this here wall since way before you showed your monkey ass up. So if you're gonna show up to me like that, it takes me it not one motherfucking problem to politely sit you over there. You go do your work. You go do your work, because the option of coming into my situation and you're not working on you is not even an option, because it's like when you do the work, you will put yourself on a proverbial throne. It's a throne that nobody else has to see, but what you do know is you're not coming down off of it. Okay. All right, because I actually worked to get this one. Now, this is not a proverbial throne that's just made up because the shit sound trendy and spiritually fashionable. No, no, this is a real spiritual throne that a motherfucker had to go through the trenches to get. And so, as cute as you is, as nice as you may seem, as whatever, when it comes to your shadow aspect, hold your own. You know what I mean? Do your work. Don't come over here dredging that shit over here. That's the difference in the me now and when I was a codependent, you know, needed validation from outside sources. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, if anybody around me saw that I needed validation, they damn sure didn't give me none. So either way we split this, if I need it, I'm gonna have to get it. I'm gonna have to get it from myself. You understand? Because now the question is, well, why do you need it? And then that's what leads you to go within and figure out what the hell going on with you. That you need other people to tell you you're doing a good job for you to know you're doing a good job. See, and that's why I say those people in those situations that you have experienced that have been less than pleasant, they didn't turn out the way you wanted to. Family, friends, co-workers, partners, whoever. Those in and out of situations is what caused you to pick up the hammer and the chisel and say, wait a minute, bitch, I can get, you know what I mean? Like, what's going on that I need validation over here, or I need somebody to make me feel confident, or I feel confident for a little while, but then all of a sudden I don't be feeling so. Like, what is this? What is this tug of war? Those situations is what makes you question your thought process about yourself that causes you to go within. So it can all be ultimately celebrated, right? But it don't have to be tolerated. You know what I'm saying? I mean, going forward, I don't have to keep letting toxic people in for me to know who, like, nah, that's the whole point of healing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the whole point. I can cut off that cycle. I've learned and I've grown from that cycle. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't have to beat myself up for being at one time a person who didn't have confidence or who was codependent or any of those things. You know what I mean? Overly introverted. I don't have to beat myself up, but I don't have to tolerate that going forward because I've already gotten the lesson from that vibration. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, it's to be celebrated, but not to be tolerated going forward. Like, nah, you can't, uh-uh. No, we're on to another lesson now. We're not still learning that one. Now we're on to, like, okay, now what does it mean now that this much light has come in? What does that mean? Now we're on to another lesson. I'm not dealing down here with the same lesson I just graduated from. So I was just thinking about how, yeah, people can see. They can see how bright you are before you can sometimes. Because I don't know. I would assume the perception is different. Like, I perceive people one way, but if I continue to talk to them, I start learning how they perceive themselves, and sometimes it don't line up. Because I'm one of those people who can see light, even when someone is in a shadow aspect of themselves. I can still see your light, and I can also see when there's none there at all. You know what I'm saying? So I'm assuming it's the same thing. We're all, it's the way people perceive me is different from the way I perceive me. You know what I mean? But it just goes to show how great of a light you have inside of you. And the universe does place us in cycles to help us, you know, um, roll back the tombstone, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Come out of that tomb, and so I just want you to be encouraged that though it could be something you're going through right now, or it could be, just you may be like me and you think retrospectively and you look at your life in hindsight and you see where you can glean certain lessons, or you can re-see where you didn't see that you was being used before, like, oh, yeah, okay, now that you've healed and you dealt with certain aspects of yourself, you can look back in hindsight and say, that's exactly what happened. When you don't believe in yourself, I let them talk me right out of something, and then they ran off and they did it and didn't even include me. Right? They stole it. They stole my idea. Certain things you start learning what lack of security and lack of confidence looks like in you, and how it plays out, and how people will put themselves in position to take from you when you don't have yourself in alignment. So you have to, okay, boom, get back in alignment. If I'm feeling not confident about an idea, that means I don't talk about it until I feel confident about it. And then even then, I may not talk about it until I'm actually doing it. And I got it because, like, I need some trademarks and copyrights, because I'd be damned if that shit happen again. You see what I'm saying? So that's just how I see the shit. And you learn, and I've learned a lot about uh purpose, my purpose, and things like that. And I'm starting to really see that this is what was being communicated the whole time, that you have a great light about you that others can see. um and they kind of it's kind of like some of the things you've experienced and some of the people that were a little bit more vampiric. Some people do things that they're not consciously intentionally trying to siphon from you, but there are people you meet that know that that's what they're doing, and they'll do it, right? um and it's almost like those kind of people come into your life and attempt to try to they can see that you have a lot of light, but they also see you have a lot of shadows. And if they can keep the shadow aspect or keep you in that shadow aspect, then they can control how much of the light you actually project to them so that they can tolerate you. Does that make sense? Like they'll try to keep you in a shadow aspect of yourself because they actually see your light, right? And at the dim light that they see in, it's already a bit much. So then they'll go into like self-preservation mode, and they'll try to keep you in a shadow aspect just so they can tolerate you. Because if you go any more outside of and do any more healing of those traumas and those wounds and all that pain, if you get any more confident, just the slightest, you know what I mean? You're not even all the way fully confident, but I'm making steps up, right? Like I'm getting stronger in certain aspects, and they don't want you to do that because it lets in more light, and then they just simply can't be around you. You understand what I'm saying? Because light exposes shadows, which means now you can better see them. You feel me? You can better see them. So just be encouraged at the things that you are maybe now experiencing that are a bit challenging as it relates to individuals in your life in any aspect in any role that they play. If you're having challenges there of feeling supported or cared for or heard or seen, they see you. Okay, they see you. The question you need to ask yourself, well, what is it about me that they can't stand in the little bit of light that I'm shining? Because I'm not even like shining all the way on y'all niggas, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what is it? Because the question may not be so much as what's wrong with you or what's right with you. It may just be, well, maybe these people are not they're not really stable enough in themselves. You understand what I'm saying? It could be a number of reasons. That's just one scenario. But when you have that energy around you where people constantly want to make you feel unsupported, or they try to dim your light, or they try to down talk and downplay your accomplishments and things, is like, for one, the lesson that we learn is that we don't do who we are for other people's like validation. And we don't do it for that, but that's not to say that it's not nice to have, you know what I mean? But we don't do it for that. We don't even seek it anymore because we recognize that how I show up is magnificent to you, but I'm just being me. But that's what makes me magnificent to me, is that I don't have to try to do this. I don't have to try to be as good at this shit as I am. I don't have to try to, you know what I'm saying? Like, to you, it's magnificent for a whole nother reason. To you, you are amazed for a whole nother reason. I am amazed because this is just me, and I get to be me every day. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not that you seek approval, celebration, or validation from anybody else. Yes, it is nice to have, but you kind of have your own like birthday party going on every day for yourself. You know what I mean? So, you know, it doesn't really matter if it doesn't come from anywhere else. And when it does, it's appreciated. But nevertheless, be encouraged if you're in that period of life where you're still dealing with certain shadows, and yet it feels like you feel unsupported by the people around you, or the people that you assumed or expected would support your journey and support your healing. And you're finding the more you heal, the more unsupportiveness of people, the more it's coming to your awareness. Like you're becoming more aware that, okay, that's probably something I've always been dealing with this person, but now I see it for exactly what it is, right? So just be encouraged because you're possessing a light even in the presence of a lot of overcast. But the more you deal with that overcast and deal with those wounds and deal with that pain, the more sunshine can break through those clouds, right? And the more you begin to see for yourself what others are seeing about you before you saw it. All right. And that raises your personal standard and your personal boundaries as to what you will deal with and what you will not. You understand? Because the truth of the matter is we shouldn't have been dealing with it before, but we kind of really had no choice because we were dealing with a lot of shadows, right? So it's nobody's fault. It's nobody's to blame. And you're not a victim of yourself, and nobody's victim. It's a learning process. You understand what I'm saying? It's a learning process. And so just be encouraged that whatever that lesson is for you, you are learning it. You are learning it. And yeah, absolutely not a lot of people are going to be able to stand under your light if they don't have their own. You understand? Like if they haven't rolled back enough of their shadows, if they haven't forged that healing and that intimate relationship and that blend and that fluidity between their light and their darkness, they're just simply not it's too bright. They're just simply not going to. So don't look at it like it's not supported. People are not supporting, or people are not loving on you, or you're by yourself. You're lonely. You've withdrawn. You can't process it that way. Okay, you can't process it that way because, to be honest, the sun is so hot that not many things can actually get too close to it. You understand what I'm saying? Like the sun is so hot, bro. Like you can't get too close to it. You can't. We down here, we can't even look directly straight into it. So yeah, the light is serious. It's lighter, but it is more illuminative. It is more bright. And for those who haven't learned how to handle that frequency, that light wave, then yeah, they simply can't stay in your presence for long. Right. And then if they do try to stay in your presence and just try to take as much of the light as they can and try to siphon it off, you know, your light is going to expose their shadows, and then you have the ability to put up your boundaries at that point. You know what I'm saying? So it gets better. I was just sitting here thinking, and I'm like, I'm glad that I did the work. I'm glad that I went in. I'm glad that even when I didn't understand what go in means, I just did what I did have understanding of, and I trusted the spirit a whole lot to just take me where you're taking me now. But let me know what's going on. You know what I mean? But I love you. I love you. Thank you so much. This has been Sacred Powers of Divine Feminine. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, share, leave your comments, tap into the community with your comments. And I'll see y'all on the next one. You feel me? I'll see y'all on the next one. Make sure you stay positive, you stay beautiful, you stay encouraged, you stay, what else you need to stay? You need to stay prosperous. You need to stay abundant and shit. You know what I mean? Stay consistent in whatever you're working on, whatever you're creating. What else? I said stay beautiful, didn't I? I said that. Make sure you do that now. Make sure you do that. What else? What else we need to stay? Encouraged. Okay? Patient. Patient. I heard patient. Stay patient. They talking to me because I'm going to share it with you. Stay patient, all right? I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace forever.